Maureen O'Hara, the steel beauty in the movie city, met a powerful tycoon and had a terrible accident. A scandal that almost ended her career and a leaked picture that sent shock waves through Hollywood. Maureen O'Hara's answer shocked everyone. We will unveil the secrets concealed from you for 30 years in this video. Meeting the tycoon. When Hollywood was at its peak in the 1940s and 1950s, Maureen O'Hara was a force to be reckoned with. Her fiery beauty and powerful acting made her the uncrowned queen of the silver screen, but her toughness and charisma also made her the target of a dark power struggle. It was this meeting that would change the rest of her life in the entertainment world, according to behind-the-scenes documents like letters, memoirs, and intercepted interviews that have since been made public. Maureen was invited to a secret meeting with one of Hollywood's most powerful businessmen at the time. The man never showed up in public, but he had control over the careers of dozens of stars. There were always rumors about him because of his hidden power over the media and the ability to ruin the careers of anyone who dared to stand up to him. The meeting took place in a luxurious but cold office on the top floor of a famous studio. Maureen recalls that his gaze was not overtly threatening but rather, the kind of coldness that made one feel controlled from the very beginning. After a few small talk, the real issue was raised. The mogul suggested a big role in a well-made film and returned silent. Cooperation following certain rules of the trade rules that were never written down, but were understood by everyone. For many this could have been a chance to change their lives, but for Maureen O'Hara it was an unacceptable insult. She stood up, looked him straight in the eye and answered firmly that she would not trade her dignity for a role. She was an actress, not a commodity in the hands of the powerful. From that moment on everything changed. Her career was gradually suffocated in a subtle way. The invitations to cooperate gradually decreased. Important roles were transferred to others. The press began to report negatively about her, making up stories about her attitude, private life, and even bad habits that were not true. A very bad scandal. After her unfortunate meeting with the powerful tycoon, Maureen O'Hara was hit by a vicious media storm. She went from being a highly sought-after actress to the center of a storm of malicious rumors, and the scariest part was that no one spoke out to defend her. In just a few weeks, a series of newspapers came out with shocking headlines about her. Maureen O'Hara, the haughty queen or difficult diva, had her contract cancelled at the last minute. Was it because of a love scandal? The Irish beauty lost control behind the scenes. Were articles without evidence or even deliberately misrepresenting her words were posted everywhere. O'Hara was called cocky, rude, unreasonable, and almost mentally unstable. Some newspapers even made up stories about her having affairs with directors and co-stars to make her look like a flirty and unstable woman. It was all part of a planned smear effort, and Maureen knew it. But no one in the business was brave enough to speak out for her because they knew they would be next if they did. She lost big roles without being told why. Studios used changes to the script as an excuse to take her off the cast list, and interview requests stopped coming in. Maureen O'Hara, who used to be on par with the biggest names in Hollywood, became a name to avoid. The scandal wasn't just a stain on her personal image. It was a sophisticated secret blockade that happened slowly and quietly, destroying a once bright star and putting her at risk of disappearing from the public eye while shocked picture is still hurting from false rumors. A real media bomb went off in Hollywood all of a sudden. A photo that was leaked was said to show Maureen O'Hara in a private and sensitive situation right on the set. No one knew where the photo came from. It wasn't released by a big newspaper but first showed up in a tabloid and quickly spread like wildfire. A female star with a strong, dignified image was suddenly the target of suspicion, scorn, and close scrutiny. In the photo, a woman thought to be Maureen was sitting, leaning against the back of the director's chair. Her clothes were sloppy, and her eyes looked like they weren't under control. The background was blurry and unclear, but the lens was set at an angle that was meant to make it look like she was breaking the law. Right away, the media reported that Maureen O'Hara was caught in an unstable state. What people didn't know, and it wasn't until years later that they found out, was that the photo had been staged or edited. Several photography experts from the time pointed out the problems in declassified post-production documents. The lighting wasn't right for the day of the shoot, the shadows didn't match, and the face was blurry, making it look like it was a composite of several different shots. In an interview in 1987, a lighting director who used to work with O'Hara said, "I knew she wasn't on set that day, we were shooting outside 60 miles away." Even though the truth came out in the end, Maureen paid a very high price for it. The surprising answer: Hollywood high at a time when everyone seemed to be against her, from the people who worked in the media to the movie companies that had backed her. Maureen O'Hara did something unexpected. She didn't stay quiet at a rushed press conference with dozens of reporters and cameras pointed directly at her face. The woman who had been called difficult walked out with an unusually proud posture. She didn't dress fancy or try to make an impression, she was just Maureen, with a straight, unabashed gaze. The room was silent, not a single camera clicked, as she took the podium. There was something that made everyone, used to excuses, blame, or avoidance, hold their breath. Maureen spoke in a clear voice without shaken up, "I will not trade my honor for the role. If I have to leave, I will leave with my head held high." It was only one sentence, but it cut straight through the so-called unspoken order of Hollywood. It was not just a statement, it was a manifesto, and it was the voice of hundreds or thousands of women in the entertainment industry who were being told to stay quiet. After that statement, the room was silent, not because no one had anything to say, but because no one dared to speak up. The powerful people behind the scenes knew that Maureen had just broken an unwritten rule, but everyone knew it. "Don't fight us, she did it, and she did it with great courage." The statement quickly made it to the front pages of many major newspapers, but the media didn't support her. Instead, they turned their backs on the public, especially women. People looked up to Maureen O'Hara because she was brave enough to tell the truth and protect her honor in a time when people had to bow down to get by. Years later, the videotape of that news conference was shown at conferences about feminism, work ethics, and resistance in pop culture. As a sign of determination, her words were put in books, on papers, and even on posters. Truth told and legacy left is not something that everyone has. Because the world wants to keep them in the dark, not everyone tells the truth when silence is easier and safer, at least in the public eye. But Maureen O'Hara is not a normal woman, and her story has never been a happy one. That year's scandal took away almost everything she had worked so hard to build: her big movie contracts, the love of the media, and even the public's trust. But it couldn't take away her dignity. It was her dignity that helped her rise above the toxic cloud that had been around her for so long, without being humble or bowing down. Pretending after the terrible press meeting where she bravely spoke in front of flashing lights and curious eyes, not only was Maureen no longer a Hollywood beauty icon, she became a living example of how to be strong. But her strength came at a cost. Many directors refused to work with her, and several major film studios quietly took her name off the casting list. Public opinion was split. Some people looked down on her, while others admired her. Maureen, instead of fighting to get back to the center of the spotlight, took a more difficult, thorny path that was straightforward and didn't require her to pay the price herself. She may not be one of Hollywood's biggest stars now, but that didn't dim her light. Instead, she shone brighter than ever as a living reminder of a time when women had to fight to survive in a world dominated by men. This video isn't just about a scandal, it's also about the rare person who chose truth over compromise, honor over fame, and dignity over silent compliance. It reconstructs a part of the past that Hollywood wants to forget, not because it's wrong, but because it's too real. We'll show you photos that have never been seen before that were taken during the time she was banned by the media, private letters between her and the only close friend who stayed after the incident, and the account of a reporter who saw her eyes before she spoke, not afraid but with a determination that she wouldn't back down. Perhaps many people thought Maureen would give up, retreat and live the rest of her life in silence, but she chose a different path. She continued to act although she no longer had many leading roles, but each character she took on reflected the bravery and wisdom of no longer the young girl of How Green Was My Valley but the experienced woman of The Parent Trap or Only the Lonely. Those roles were like an extension of her own life, profound calm, and did not need to scream to be heard. Today when we look back on that journey, we cannot see just a talented actress, we see a woman who knew the price of fame but still chose to hold on to the value that cannot be lost, which is herself. That courage without ostentation, without illusion, is what made Maureen O'Hara immortal in the hearts of those who loved cinema, who believed that in Hollywood there was still a place for integrity. And it is also what makes this video necessary, not to evoke pain, but to honor a living legacy, a legacy of quiet courage. Without flashiness but echoing to this day. Please like, share this video and subscribe to the channel if you believe it is time for the world to hear real stories from real people like Maureen O'Hara.